Okay, so today I'm going to talk about something that I've noticed, again, a gap of information on from the perspective of someone who's dealing with it, because I've heard it mentioned in passing. Most people that talk about manifestation don't even acknowledge it, that it's a thing. I think it's because they don't know that it's a thing. And the only in-depth video explaining how to deal with it and explaining the science behind it, explaining why it happens and all this stuff is Athena Ravens' Ultimate Guide. I think it's called Ultimate Guide to Visualization, but her channel is awesome, and that video specifically is amazing. It's very, very detailed, and it's like actual information that's helpful. I'm just going to describe how I've dealt with it, how I discovered that I even have this lack of ability. So I don't know, I think a lot of people at this point have heard about the whole, like, some people don't have an internal monologue. I remember that kind of exploded on the internet. Like, if you're chronically online like me, there was like this whole wave of people like, oh my god, people are NPCs and they like don't have thoughts in their head. And I definitely like thought that was strange because I have always been the kind to like overthink and like constantly have thoughts in my head. Nowadays, not so much, but it's not a complete lack of it. It's more just like I'm calm and chill, so there's not like a bunch of things running through my head. Like, I can be very much in the present moment. I think that's more it. It's not that I don't have thoughts, it's more that it's just like present moment thoughts. It's like, oh, look at the bird. Oh, look at the sky, you know, instead of like constantly thinking about the past and the future and all these things. So it's less complex, crazy thoughts, right? It's more just chill in the moment thoughts. Now, some people don't have the ability to do that. And something else that is pretty recent and not widely discussed is the phenomenon of aphantasia. Now, it's just a fancy word for saying that you don't have an imagination. So when you close your eyes, you do not have a mind movie, you cannot visualize things, you don't see anything. It's just black. It's dark. Now, I can dream. I do see things when I dream. I don't dream regularly. That's also something that doesn't happen every night to me. And when I do dream, I almost remember it every time because it's like not a regular occurrence for me. And usually my dreams are like really mundane and realistic, and they're not fantastical at all. I've literally had dreams about like doing the laundry. So they're not exactly crazy. I almost feel like my dreams are just like a parallel reality where I'm still doing like mundane things, but I'm just like seeing another version of me. That's how I feel about it. I remember first discovering, and this is very recently that I discovered that I have it, like maybe a little over a year ago, because I basically learned that when people say, oh, imagine this and that, and having an imagination, it wasn't just like a saying. I thought it was just, I literally thought it was just something people said. I didn't think it was literal. I didn't think you could actually close your eyes and see things, right? Like a projector. I did not think, I couldn't even conceptualize it because I've had this my whole life. So I didn't know I was missing anything, right? And not to mention my mom has it too, so it's not even like I mean, I asked her, we never talked about it, but I ended up asking her immediately, and I was like, when you close your eyes, do you see things? And she thought I was asking her if she's hallucinating, and I was like, no, I mean, like, can you actually imagine things? And she's like, no, like, she was under the impression as well that, like, that's normal. So there was no way I was ever going to discover this unless I, like, read about it, and I did read about it. So no, of course I immediately started asking everyone in my family, asked my cousin. I was like, oh my god, like, can you see things when you close your eyes? And she's like, yeah. Like, I literally play movies in my head before I go to sleep. I was like, oh my god, what the fuck? Because I can do that with music, right? I have like a crazy ear, I have amazing hearing, and I have really, really good ear for music. So like really small sounds, and I can hear music from very far away. I just have an amazing ear. and I can play music in my head. Like I can live like a radio, like a jukebox. I can play an entire album start to finish in my head. So I guess it's like that for people, but with seeing things, but I can just do it with hearing things. Now, other things I can't do when it comes to visualization is smelling things that aren't there, feeling things that aren't there. I cannot imagine the wind in my hair. I cannot imagine the Coca-Cola bottle in my hand. Like, I cannot feel anything like, I cannot imagine what that feels like. I quite literally have to touch the thing, and it's not that I don't know what it feels like. I know what it feels like. If you ask me to imagine a lemon, the best I can do is keep my eyes open, and it's almost like a computer where I drop an image that's like filed in my head, and I just know what it looks like. There's actually some interesting videos about like how artists with aphantasia draw, and they describe it the same way, because they're like, well, how can you be an artist? How can you draw if you can't like imagine the drawing? And the artist I was watching described it the same exact way. She's just like, I don't know, I just know what it looks like, and I just do it. And it's crazy because I'm super creative as well, and I can come up with like insane concepts with like all these references and all these ideas from start to finish, but I never see it in my head. I just know what it's gonna look like, and it always looks good, and I always know how it's gonna look. And I wonder if it actually aids me in a way, because I just know it's gonna look good, and I don't have because I feel like a lot of people, all right, I've worked in retail a lot, right? So I feel like a lot of people, when they shop for clothes, they imagine what it would look like on them, and it's wrong. Like, they'll put the clothing on and they're like, oh my god, I hate the way it looks on me. I imagined it was gonna look amazing, right? So I feel like sometimes your imagination can actually play tricks on you, and I feel like in my creativity, it's actually been really helpful not having an imagination, because I just have to know. I just know what it's gonna look like. I cannot make up a story in my mind's eye to see what it would look like, right? Okay, but well, then how do I deal with manifesting, right? Like, how can I visualize manifestation? How can I get into the feeling of the desired reality? How can I see the thing I want if I can't see it? Well, I've tried doing different things. For me, it's easier to muster up emotions about things by just getting into character, almost like an actor would. Like, kind of thinking. Instead of seeing, I think of the scenario, or I think of the thing. So it's mostly thought-based. What also really helps me, ChatGPT. I love technology. I love everything to do with technology. I think it's amazing. I don't get the hate. I really don't. I think it's only been helpful to me, and it's only brought good to my life. That's my belief. I'm sticking to it. And ChatGPT has really helped me with that kind of stuff. Like, I can pretty much type in any scenario and have ChatGPT write it up for me. And the most helpful thing for me has been having ChatGPT write me letters, like letters of like offer letters, letters of like me getting hired, letters of me winning things, just any letter that I would like to receive. When I read what ChatGPT has written, it feels so real to me. Like, it does such a good job. It really does. It's so accurate feeling, and it feels so real. When I read it, I get those emotions. The first time I did it, I even got like goosebumps from reading the letter. It was like a job letter. I was just like practicing being that person that receives those types of job offers, that receives those types of winnings, like practicing the feeling of receiving those things in my life. Because you just need an aid sometimes. Like, sometimes you can't just sit there and muster it up out of nowhere, right? And okay, well, one of the tools is, okay, well, visualize it and see yourself doing it. So many people like, oh, visualize someone you love congratulating you. Okay, well, I kind of do that. I don't see the person in my mind's eye, but I know what that would feel like because I've been congratulated on things. So I just dip into past feelings, past emotions, and I'm like, okay, well, I've been congratulated on things, so now I'm just going to think of, okay, well, I want this specific person to say congratulations on your new job or whatever, right? Whatever it may be. So yeah, that's just like something interesting that is still relatively unknown. I feel like a lot of people are under the impression that everyone has the exact same brain, and it's just not the case. If you're interested in like brain stuff, which I am, there's like 4 types of brains, like different ways of processing information, all kinds of things. Like our brains are truly like computers, and I don't think that having differences or having things like aphantasia or whatever, it like makes it wrong or makes you sick or makes it's like such a weird old-timey way of thinking, like, oh, we all have to be the same, and if we're not, then that's terrible. It's like, wouldn't you want to experience life through all these different lenses? I mean, yes, ultimately it's like we are all one and whatever, but it's like we're not all carbon copies of each other. We are all expressing ourselves through like God and through spirituality, and like in that sense, yes, like spiritually we're all one. But we still have different likes, we have different personalities, we have different goals, you know, and we have different brains. So I think it's actually quite cool, and it's never bothered me. I've never viewed anything like, oh, like one thing that people say that I find hilarious is like, oh, they have a word for everything now, don't they? Like implying that it's like, we just have to label everything and everything's a mental illness now. And I'm like, that's just how the language works. Like when you discover a new flower, are you mad that the scientists gave it some weird long Latin name? And you're like, oh, we just have to keep naming these flowers these crazy names. It's like, yeah, because every time I talk about something, I won't have to like describe a dog and be like, oh, you know that thing with the 4 legs and the fur and it barks. Like, I just want to say dog. I don't want to have to describe to you every single time the feeling or the thing I'm talking about. In fact, some languages are even more specific, like the German language has like really, really specific words for like feelings, and like they have a specific word for like open, like leaving the window open and letting air in. Like, instead of just saying all that, you just say a word, right? It's just a way language works. I think thinking of it or believing like that it has some deeper meaning is just a waste of energy, but you do you, I guess. So yeah, that's just kind of been my experience so far. It works for me to just go straight to the go straight past the imagination and go straight to the emotion part of it. Again, kind of like an actor would do in getting prepared for their role, bringing up the, you know, like someone that's preparing to like cry, or, you know, they would think of a past experience where they've cried or something that would make them cry, right? Something like that. So yeah, this one's a short one, but I just wanted to get it out because I've never seen a video about it. Like, I've literally never seen a video. Oh, last thing, it is highly found in people with autism. So that's interesting. It's not every autistic person has it, but there's a high percentage of aphantasia linked to autism, and autistic people do quite have like a very tactile, logical kind of pattern way of thinking. So I do find that interesting. I love patterns. I love seeing patterns. That actually what led me to realize my life is a pattern, and led me down the road of like, how can I change that pattern? Because some people don't notice patterns. They don't notice details. They don't notice anything. They just go through life not noticing. And I notice everything, so I like that. Anyway, that's that.